Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Mirror Dungeon 4 Hard solo video. As I've mentioned in my previous Yi Song video, I will be soloing with every identity in the game, and to do that, I've created a spreadsheet with every identity on it and put it in a random order. First identity on that list is none other than Regret Faust. She is a very powerful and one of the most unique units in the game. Her Tremor kit is fairly decent, applying defense down and extra damage with her skill 3 whenever Tremor bursts, but ultimately it is not her main focal point. Technically she is a Tremor identity, but I would personally classify her as an AoE identity. There are a few other identities with AoE in their kit, most notably Magic Bullet Otis and Philip Sinclair, but they are not fully dedicated to their AoE like Regret Faust is. You see, if you play her properly, every single attack she makes will be AoE. Every single one. Because of that, I would consider her to be the only one of her kind. An identity fully dedicated to hitting multiple targets with every attack. The only thing really holding her back is the fact she's a counter identity. And while counters certainly have their uses, they are by far the weakest of the three defense skills in regards to soloing, as they cannot effectively stall. Starting us off with the support passives, we have the typical ones that every single solo run has, with a few notable exceptions. Think Dawn because we can actually activate her passive, and because none of the other Dawns actually do anything. Molar offers Yi Song for even more defense down on Tremor Burst, but you could easily replace him with Spice Bush for extra AoE damage. Unfortunately, his passive is resonance based, which means it won't activate until turn 4, and you need to use 3 skill 1s, which is not something you want to be doing often. And finally, the most important one, Molar Office Otis. With her, it turns Regret's already decent AoE sustainability into something completely unmatched, resulting in a near infinite amount of AoE. Our starting ego gifts are Reverberation and Sour Liquor Aroma, and we start the run off in probably the easiest floor of them all, the Unloving. We pick up Child Within a Flask early on, which is an incredible find as it allows us to turn on all of the passives which we don't fuel and head into the boss. This is an easy boss for any identity as 1. It's a focused encounter, and 2. The enemies are super weak, both with resistances and the damage they deal. However, this fight is one of the best showcases of Regret Faust's true potential. Not a single wave can hope to stand up to us, as each and every one of them end up dying to about a single skill 3. Once finished, we pick up Greycoat, which would be one of the best ego gifts, if not for the fact that it doesn't work with regular skills. Technically it could work with regular skills, but how it works is it checks the skill's base attack weight value, and if it's a 1, it doesn't activate. Even if a skill has the potential to become AoE, if it isn't that way naturally, it doesn't work with Greycoat. The second floor is the Outcast, which is technically the normal floor 2 of Mirror Dungeon 3. Here we pick up Lithograph, one of the best ego gifts in the game, and Green Spirit for more Tremor. The boss of this floor is none other than everyone's favorite, definitely a WoW abnormality, Ebony Queen's Apple. The only thing that could possibly make this fight challenging is the fact that we are quadruple weak to her attacks, but that's easily remedied by using an ego. Afterwards, we proceed to make a fool out of her by proving a Teth abnormality is more powerful than her. Eat your heart out, Ebony Queen. Forsaken Murderer is the real WoW abnormality. We take Late Bloomer's Tattoo because I don't want the debuff that comes with Oscillating Bracelet, and move on to the third floor, Emotional Repression. Starting off, we fuse Clockwork Spring for extra damage and clash power. Making our way through a horde of bugs, we eventually arrive at the boss. Both the Talisman Doll and Ambling Pearl would have been good fights since we're neutral to blunt damage, but we end up with the easiest of the three options and get Sonata. He would probably be just as difficult as the others, if not for the fact that his fight is split up into 3 waves. The first 2 waves aren't even worth talking about. They are so pathetically easy, the only purpose they serve is to give all of your skill slots before Sonata arrives. Once he does arrive, it doesn't matter anymore, as we have all of our skill slots and can simply nuke him down. If I had smarter targeting, letting my skill 3 move last, I would have been able to defeat him in a single turn. We take Nixie Divergence for our reward, and are bestowed Illusory Hunt as a nice bonus. For floor 4, we are tempted by the reward of the bell, but end up choosing Rising Power Supply instead. Purchasing Bloody Gadget, Blue Zippo Lighter, and an extra skill 2, we head off into the floor, finding Standard Duty Battery and Ancient Effigy along the way. Before we make it to the final encounter, we are interrupted when the actual floor boss decides to pay us an early visit. In a random node, not even an elite encounter, Corp decides to grace us with their presence. These guys are rough. They roll really high, and having 2 different damage types means you're basically guaranteed to be weak to at least one of them. Which we are. However, the most difficult aspect about them is not actually their damage potential. It is in fact their bind infliction. With how much they apply, you're essentially guaranteed to be at 1 speed for almost the entire fight. And because they always have more skills than you, 1 or 2 of them will always land before you can attack yourself. Basically, we had to end up getting lucky. They always had enough damage to kill us at all times, even with Fluid Sac and Greycoat's healing. We still needed them to roll tails in order to survive. Eventually, we managed to hang on by a thread and take one of them out. Now that the enemies and our skill slots were even, speed was no longer an issue, and the rest of them followed shortly after.
올바른 방법으로 개체에게 일격을 가해줍니다. 탈출 개체 확인. 탈출 개체가 정리되었습니다. 탈출 개체가 정리되었습니다.
With Corp defeated, we find Temporal Brittle and move on to this floor's boss, pretending like we haven't already faced it. Facing us is KQE, a fight that is extraordinarily easy. Having only 3 skill slots for the first couple turns, it's easy to take minimal damage whilst waiting for him to put us into captivity. This would be a lot more threatening of a fight if captivity actually did something. Unfortunately, all it does is allow KQE to deal around 60 unavoidable damage, and thanks to Reverberation, it's actually reduced to 30. Once out of captivity, we have all of our skill slots and easily take him out in the next few turns. We pick up Oscillating Bracelet and receive Mirror Tactile Synthesia, while moving on to the final floor, Tangling Lust. Finding absolutely nothing of worth in this floor, we effortlessly make it to the final shop, where we find one of the most unique ego gifts in the game, Imposed Weight. This gift gives attack power in exchange for 5% of HP when you're alone. This is considered to be the solo ego gift, but in my opinion it's still very risky. HP is without a doubt the single most valuable stat when soloing, and missing even a sliver of health can mean the difference between winning a fight and losing it. 2 attack power up is not worth that trade-off in most situations, unless the identity has absurdly low clash power or you can very easily offset it. We also fuse Melted Eyeball before heading into the final boss against Talisman Doll. Starting off, we have to use Fluid Sac, or any ego for that matter, to turn off our Lust Fatality. Afterwards, it's a simple matter of clashing with his multi-coin skills, and that's it. The rest of the fight is easy, with him being fatal to blunt and doing double damage thanks to AoE. We easily take him out in only 4 turns.
효율적인 대처로 개체를 꿰뚫었습니다. 참고로 기계는 입에 달린 말 따위 쉽게 하지 않아요.
직원들 복장
탈출 개체 확인.
방금 공격은 좋았어. 이대로만 계속해보면 좋을 텐데.
저런 건 탈출 개체 확인. 탈출 개체 확인.
약점을 찾는
탈출 개체가 정리되었습니다.
여기 오랜만에 모범을 보여주는 직원이 있군요. 효율
제압 완료. 경보에는 익숙해지시는 게 좋을 겁니다. 아직 50일까지 많은 날이 남은 것을 파우스트는 알고 있으니까요.
And that's how I soloed Mirror Dungeon 4 hard with only regret Faust. She is definitely one of the better units for soloing. Having a natural AoE makes the hardest encounters, which are the regular fights, so much easier. If she didn't have a counter skill, she would be without a doubt the best solo unit in the game. At least her counter is a gloom skill, which lets it work with Greycoat, unlike the rest of her kit, which is unfortunate. Anyways, that's it from me. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss next time, where we'll be soloing the Mirror Dungeon with this mysterious stranger. Goodbye!